Hi guys, I want to welcome you guys to another edition of Halftime Chat. Must be the music, and I'm so excited about my next guest. As I said, all my guests are special, and I have the legendary Miss Joyce Sims, who um uh, has this amazing voice. She is a singer, songwriter, and producer. Some of the biggest hits, who came out in the late 80s, My All in All and Come Into My Life. Just amazing songs. And when you think about Joyce's first album, which was titled Come Into My Life, a lot of those songs were based on love. And just seeing her in the video of Coming Into My Life in her even in her elegant dress by piano and just singing. It just always brings back amazing memories for me. So Joyce has released a new single, a cover of the Bobby Caldwell track, "What You Won't Do for Love," and that was released just at the end of July. And she's getting ready to do a tour around the UK, as well. So I definitely look forward to talking to her, listening to her, hearing her story, just trying to understand how she got into music, being a songwriter, as well as having a hand in some of the producing of her tracks, and seeing if there's anything else we can expect from her. So, just waiting for her to join in, and we'll take it from there.
Hello?
Hello. Oh, I can't see you. I can hear you, but not see you. Okay, there you are.
Okay.
Yes. Oh goodness, Joyce, it's an amazing honor to be able to speak to you as this at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh no. Um yeah, so yeah, I'm based out here in the UK, but we do
Oh,
have yeah, so it's about 10 at night over here, but which is always
okay.
good. But we do have an international audience, and so I always like to start with asking my guests where they were born and raised, so that our international audience can sort of get a sense of where things were in the map.
Well, I was born and raised in New York, in Western New York, called a city called Rochester, New York.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, was it very heavily influenced in music? Because most of us internationally would know of Harlem and Brooklyn and areas like that, but not much about Rochester.
Right. Well, so Rochester is known for the Eastman School of Music. So that's a very prestigious, music school for, opera, classical music, different things like that. And like Eastman Kodak, it was more like back then when I was still living in Rochester, industry, but the Eastman School of Music was like a big music school in Rochester. Well,
Is
well, there still is.
is
Yeah.
is that where did you go? Is that where you went to?
No, I didn't. I studied well, I took private lessons and then I studied music theory at Nazareth College.
Wow.
Hmm.
I mean, going back, growing up in Rochester, I mean, what was your sort of musical influence, especially as a child?
Well, I grew up singing in the choir. Most back then we didn't have American Idol and you know
Yeah,
what is it? The America's
the
Best,
voice
all
and
these different, The Voice, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
Voice. Yeah, we didn't have that. So, you know, the church. So I grew up singing in the church choir, the youth choir, then, going up to the adult choir. But yeah, my background started in the church. And from there, I started writing poetry. And I just always wanted to be a singer songwriter. I was more into writing than anything else. I just love writing. And so I studied piano. And from there, I just started putting the lyrics and the music together. And I remember my first piano, well, my first organ. Actually, I started out playing an organ, and I
Okay.
begged and pleaded my parents, please, please, please give me this organ. So they finally did.
Wow.
But yeah, so I started out actually taking organ lessons. So, and I think that really influenced my sound because playing the organ, you're like chording with your left hand, you're playing the melody with your right hand, and you're playing the bass line with your feet.
Wow.
Yeah, so my coordination had to be really there. So yeah, and then I picked up, just singing as well. So I guess it was a different way to go, but yeah, that's how I got started.
Who was around that you were influenced by? I mean,
Well, so as I grew older, the Jackson Five was a big influence on me.
oh,
Um, Shaka Khan as I, grew older, and Stevie Wonder. I really admire Stevie Wonder. I love Stevie Wonder, and he really inspired me to want to play and sing at the same time.
ah.
He was a big influence on me. Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, I know we know we've recently seen that Aretha was very good at playing and singing, but
Mhm.
how common was it seeing females playing and singing when you were growing up and thinking about the Korean music?
Well, the only place I saw it was in the church, the choir director or
Okay.
someone, playing and singing, directing the choir,
Yeah.
So that was the only place I saw it at, when I was growing up.
But then but it was still you went you didn't think, okay, I know Stevie does it and Ray Charles, but okay, I mean, now we see Alicia Keys and it doesn't
Oh
seem
yeah,
as a come, but back in those days
yeah.
it was Stevie and Ray, but not as
Hmm.
and a few others, but it wasn't that prevalent. So you didn't think it might seem odd playing and singing?
Oh no. Okay, as we have a thunderstorm rumbling
Oh,
through. I don't
okay.
know if you hear
Yeah, I just did it. Yeah.
that. but, but no, I didn't think anything of it because I mean I had a song, somebody had to sing it. So,
Yeah.
and it seemed like it came so natural for me to play the song and sing the song. Because I really wanted to write for other people and I would uh, take it, have them listen to my song. I would write a little demo and what have you. Like, would you like to sing this song? They're like, no.
Oh,
So,
oh, how
oh
come?
yeah, oh yeah. My first, I thought was a song. I sent to it was a American songwriting competition. It was a contest, and it's still around today. So I wrote a song. I thought it was a song. They replied to me and said, "This is not a song. It has
Ah,
no structure. It has no meaning." So I was crushed. I was like, "Oh wow, okay." So but I took what they said, and I said he said it has no structure. I'm like, okay, a song has structure. So I went and started getting books and reading on the structure of writing the song, the different forms and excuse me, different techniques of writing songs. So,
wow.
so I can build a really, constructed song.
Wow. So it's at this stage, I mean, as I said, you're writing poetry. What was the theme of the poetry that you'd write about?
I'd write about anything. I think the first one I wrote about was Leo's, the signs and everything. I would write about anything. I mean, I was in high school back then, so I would write about anything.
Oh, goodness. I mean, and because I know later, I mean, because when I think about especially your first album, there's a big theme about love,
Hmm.
which we'll get into and stuff. But so from that letter, and you started to study. When did you think I actually wanted to go into the industry as different from your playing and writing?
Well, I always wanted to. I love the studio, the recording studio. So still back, in my hometown, I was, at the same time, I started singing and playing in local bands. And I was a keyboard player and the singer, background singer in the local bands. And I was still, trying to write my songs. And I finally got one band to play a song that I wrote. And so so I wanted to record it. And so I, again, went to my family, please, can you give me some money? I want to go to the recording studio. And they were looking at me like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this girl? but they gave me the money. And so I booked a studio for, a couple hours or so. And we went in the studio and recorded the song. And I just fell in love with the big board and the speakers and everything. And I wanted to do that. So, that's where, my love for just creating music and being, you know, in the, I guess, the beginning stages of a song. Just, that's my first love, is just being in the studio creating.
Yeah, for us as music fans who have no music talent, when we see the recording engineer with a massive board with switches, we wonder how does it make sense. But when you
Mhm.
got in, you just felt like, wow, this feels like a place where you'd want to spend time and
Yeah. I felt like I belonged there, but I had no clue what he was doing.
okay.
So, so I would just sit and I would watch, and I would just watch, and I would ask questions. But back then, it was like, you don't touch the board, you don't do anything to the board, you just sing your part and you go back over and sit in your corner or wherever and let the engineer do his thing. But I would just sit there and watch everything he did, everything, and I would listen to what they were saying. And that's how I learned a lot, just, being in the studio, being in the atmosphere.
I remember watching an interview with Barry Gordy, and he said that that was what Michael Jackson was like when everyone
Mm,
else was playing. He was just in the studio, just listening and watching and
yeah.
learning and stuff.
Yeah, you learn a lot that way. You pick up a lot, and having some idea of the way things work. If you hear it and you see the engineer applying it to whatever you're working on, then when you go back home and try it, it makes more sense.
Wow. You know
Yeah.
what strikes me is how because you talked about getting your parents to get you a piano and then getting you paying helping you pay for your recording set. Throughout this time, were they really supportive of we know our daughter has a gift, or what was it like? Because it was as straightforward as that.
Well, my parents, I love them dearly. They were just so supportive. Whatever we did, they just supported us.
Wow.
It's five of us, and as long as we stayed out of trouble, they supported us. So
Wow.
they supported everything we did that was constructive. So that wasn't an issue, but it had to make sense. If I couldn't ask for some craziness, and they knew I wouldn't keep up with it, or follow through with what I promised. But I promise. I'm like, I promise you, I'm gonna write a song. You're gonna love it. I promise you. You gotta listen. Oh my, they were so sweet. I remember my mom. She would be so tired coming home because our family owned a soul food restaurant in Rochester, New York,
Wow.
and she would be so tired when she came in at night, and I was like, "Mom, listen to this new song I just wrote." And she's like, "All right, baby, let me hear it." So I'm just playing my little. It was a cassette tape, right? And I'm just playing my little song and so excited my mom was gonna listen to my music. And I looked over, mom was asleep. I was like, oh my gosh. But she supported me. My mom and dad, they supported me. Yeah,
Wow.
they did. Yeah.
Did you then go further your education in music, or was that in high school or college?
College. Well, in high school as well, I studied flute, and I played in the high school band. So you had to learn in the marching band.
Okay.
Excuse me. So you had to learn how to read the music, playing in the band. And so it started there. Well, it didn't really start there, but it continued because, excuse me, I took private lessons, and you had to learn how to read the music. So from there, I went to college, and then I studied the theory of music.
Wow.
Yeah, so it continued.
Did you get the chance then when you're studying the theory of music to study engineering as well, or is it just mainly the
Yeah, it was just a theory. It was just a theory of music. But once I started traveling back and forth to New York and working in the big studios with engineers, that's when I really started learning about the boards and the different things, how to run the board. Again, they wouldn't let you touch the board, but you're sitting in the room. You're sitting in the room, and I'm just absorbing everything.
Wow. I mean, so I mean, when you're in college, did you then think I actually want to be a recording artist, or what was on your horizon, your vision?
My vision was to be a songwriter.
Oh,
It
just
was
oh,
always, yeah, to be the songwriter. You have to write songs. And to see, my thing was I just wanted to be in the recording studio. That was still just my thing. Just want to write songs and be in the recording studio, you
yeah.
know. And and I love to travel. So I figured, okay, I can write songs and travel. So, that at that time, that's what I'm thinking, you know.
In did they teach you as well in college the understanding how songwriters get paid and all those nits and cracks?
No, no,
Okay.
no, that's a totally different thing. That's like the business of music. And
Okay.
yeah, that's the business of music. Um, the theory is just really the theory of music, how to, how you would build a song or a sound,
Yeah.
how the circle of fifths and the chord progressions and the staffs and different things like that. You're actually studying about the music.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. Again, when I was rejected from my first song, and I started buying music books. So I would
Wow.
buy this book. It was called This Business of Music. It was thick. But I would read that book. It was certain areas. It would tell you about publishing, the writer's share, your publishing share, the different compositions. There's like the song composition, the sound recording, different parts of the song. How the income comes in and everything. So I would read each one of those sections, and that really saved me when I came to New York and started. All these contracts started coming. I was like, wait a minute, I can't. And if I didn't read it in the book, I would tell them. I was like, that's not how that goes. I didn't read that. They were like, what? Who told you that? I'm like, I read it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what? You're I've probably interviewed over 70 guests, and you're one of the first who's actually said, "Yeah, I knew, I read about this before going in." Everyone else was just sign away, and then 3 albums
Oh,
later, it's like they had to
no,
go.
no, 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 no. I remember this engineer or producer I work with, and he says to me, we had a production deal, and he says to me, well, because of the publishing and the writer's share, I was a writer, so I would get the writer's share. The publisher, we would split that. But anyway, he wants everything to come to him, the checks, I'm saying. And then he would cut me a check and send it to me. Again, I didn't read that in the book. So I'm like, that's not how that goes. Why can't they just send me ASCAP BMI or whoever? Why can't they just send my check direct to me? And then they send your check to you. Oh, you don't trust me? I'm like, no, it's nothing about trust. That's just how it goes. He said, oh, okay.
Wow, my goodness. It's like,
So,
yeah. I mean, it's amazing that you've said that, and and it still goes on today. A lot of
oh
new
yeah,
artists, hearing all the stories, are still
yeah.
going in blind and still just seeing us the checks and then and giving
Hmm.
away everything.
Yeah, yeah. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, so how did you then transition from, after studying and then and that desire to be a songwriter and being in the studio to actually becoming a recording artist?
Well, so I did a demo. I recorded a demo in Rochester, my hometown, and the demo had, all in all, come into my life. It wasn't easy, and I think Walk Away was on it. And so I had made friends in college. And she lived in Brooklyn, and so we would go, back and forth. Summertime, I'd, go home with her family, and we would, go back and forth. But so in the meantime, I was making friends. She had friends, and she was introducing me because she knew I loved music, and she would
Okay.
introduce me to different people. And so I met an engineer, and he needed a vocalist to demo some of his songs, and I needed a recording studio to record my demos. And he knew Will Sokoloff over at Sleeping Bag Records. And so, as you know, they call it bartering, free studio time. He would give me time, and I would sing the vocals for him
Okay.
on his demos. And so he was like, "Yeah, Joyce, these are pretty good songs. I got a label. They might be interested." I was like, "Okay, take it." And so he took it over to Sleeping Bag, and they heard the demo, and they signed me. They liked it. That's how I was like, I said, "Okay, well, maybe I can do this." So, and that's what happened. And all in
Wow.
all, yeah, all in all was the first single that I recorded with Sleeping Bag Records.
And you said you were recording a demo as to shop the songs around, or what was
Right.
the idea?
Mhm. Yeah, to shop at the different labels.
Oh,
To shop.
for them to give it to an artist to sing and
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and they liked my voice, so I was like, "Oh, okay."
oh, was it that easy to convince you to be in front of the camera, to be a recording artist? Just or were you a little hesitant about no, yeah, I don't want the limelight as much as that?
I didn't think about that. I just didn't think about it. They said studio. I'm like, I'm there.
Oh,
Literally,
goodness.
I didn't think about it.
Wow. And then how much of your music pop business book did you then apply to when, Sleeping Bags came with their contract? Did you go through it and
Oh, at that point, I had to get an attorney. I had to get an entertainment attorney at that point. And but the blessing about it is I understood what was in my contract, and what I didn't understand, I would ask my attorney, and he would explain it to me.
but and I think some of the issues the artists in the 90s had was the attorneys were very much aligned with the labels. So they would
Mm.
say, "Oh, it's a standard deal, that's what everyone gets."
Oh no, thank God I didn't have that at all. I had some real. I was really blessed. I had really good people around me. Really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was Sleeping Bag surprised how much you knew and how thorough you were and like, oh, what's this?
Well, how did actually Sleeping Will, he introduced me to my first management. And see, my manager knew the Boza Rivers, and he knew, you know, there was a it's like BISLA, they call it. It's a group of Black entertainment attorneys. So
Oh,
he knew all these attorneys already, high profile attorneys. So anybody he chose from his book was a high power attorney. So
wow.
yeah, yeah,
My
so
goodness.
yeah.
So, I mean, as I said, I went to college in the US in the 90s, but grew
Hmm.
up in the UK. But then in the mid 80s, I went to high school in Nigeria. And, I think when I talk to my guests, especially those from the 80s who were big in the 80s, I sometimes wonder if they realize when their songs go big and it's crossed over to, not just the UK, but to places like Nigeria and rest of Africa. Were you surprised how successful your, when my all in all and come into my life? But I mean, especially your first single, how well it took off.
Yeah, yeah, I was surprised. I was very surprised. But the thing about it is, like, I really didn't realize how big the song was because I was working so, and I don't think I really had time for it to really like soak in. Like, you have a international hit because I was just working.
Oh, when you say working, I mean, you had your,
I was traveling, doing shows in New York or the U.S. I should say, and when All in All, nobody expected All in All to do what it did. Even the DJs, I remember Will telling me some of the DJs were like, "Yeah, it's all right. That's a nice little song." And yeah, so so when the song blew up the way it did, is now I'm traveling. At first, slowly, like slow pace, and then all of a sudden, every week or all week, I'm traveling here, there, and I remember it seemed like every Tuesday I was on my way back to the UK to tape Top of the Pops, and I mean, oh my goodness, I was doing a lot of moving. I was doing a lot of moving. It was crazy. You know, I would leave a show in New York or Miami. New York and Miami were the hot spots, and I would go straight to the UK from the airport, go to the TV studio, record all day, film, you know, for Top of the Pops or whatever TV show it would be. Go to get dinner, get dressed, and do a club that night.
Wow.
Get back on the plane to New York or wherever I was going next. It just starts all over again.
Wow, that doesn't sound like fun. Or was it in those early days?
Well, when I got on stage, I had fun, but yeah, it wasn't a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. I mean, I don't regret it. I'm thankful for it. And at the time, you know, I was much younger, and so it's just let's just do it. And I
Yeah.
just did what I had to do. If they said, okay, you're scheduled to be here at certain this time, I was there at that time.
Wow. You know, I mean, I think one of the things is fascinating because you started talking about wanting to be a songwriter mainly, and how common or how unusual was it for a new artist to be given the reins to write the entire album?
I I don't know. I don't know. You know, I came to Sleeping Bag and I had my whole album already. And that was another thing. So in between the shows, I was trying to finish an album. And so because All in All came out and then Lifetime Love, and they were rushing for it. They needed another single. Then Come Into My Life, now they needed an album. So I was trying, we did it and make the videos. So we had
Yeah.
to do all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think yeah. Apart from say Stevie, I mean, I'm sure there was a few others, but it was not very. Yeah, as I said, it was most times the labels don't trust, and they say, okay, we'll bring in Burt Bacharach or Diane Warren and all these people to come in and write the hits. How I guess Sleeping Bags must have been a small independent label. So did
Yeah.
you feel as if that benefited you as a creator of music?
I think it did. I'm sure it did, you know. And the fact that the first single that I released was a hit helped
Yeah.
an awful lot. So, you know, and the second one, it got fairly good reception as well. So that helped a lot. I think if the first song I did was a flop, they probably wouldn't have trusted me with anything else.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know.
You know when so I can still remember being in boarding school at Ijaniki in Nigeria, and Coming to My Life comes on, and we see the video of this elegant woman in a dress behind a piano, and we don't get to see much of that. You know, we see them. I mean, just to sit by a piano with a nice band and just playing, and it's I just thought when I listen to the song, it always takes me right back to those memories and stuff, and how empowering it must have been as well, because when we see how women are portrayed in music now, it's just quite a different thing. But
Yeah.
also the song was also very rare about a woman saying a sort of a song about from a woman's point of view about coming into my life. I got so much love to give, because we normally don't get that. How
Oh,
did the song go? Yeah, you know, we don't normally get women saying about, yeah, come on in, I've got so much love to give you. I can,
oh.
all that stuff. So it had so many amazing elements that I don't know if you even noticed when you were writing the song, recording it, even shooting the video.
No, I didn't. I didn't even think that first time I've ever even heard someone come to me you know, from that point of view. No, I wrote around the title, "Come Into My Life," you know, and I write love songs, so I'm thinking, "Come into my life." What would it feel to have someone come into my life? You know, and I got so much love for you, so come into my life, but you got to come into my life to get all this love. So, and I actually wrote that song around the title because I love that title, "Come Into My Life."
Wow.
Mhm.
Did you know that when you finished, when you wrote it and finished it, do you think, wow, this was good. This is really this is a hit, or what did you think when you finished it?
I didn't think it was a hit. You know, my thought is when I write a song, I want to write a good song
Yeah.
that can tell a story and that makes sense and it'll make a difference to someone. So, because when I start writing a song, I'm like, okay, why are you writing the song? Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to write it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to make sense and it has to mean something to me, or or something that someone shared with me. I would never write about someone personal, you know, um, something that someone went through personally. But if they shared something that could inspire someone else that inspired me, then
Yeah.
I may write around that.
The I think the other thing that complemented the song was the production. Now, at the beginning, were you the one playing the intro?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. And that was just running scales up and down. Yeah, so I was running scales.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an amazing intro. And I was and it's one of the things that really gets you to the track, and then it just almost like, the beat comes in and it just
Mhm.
lifts you up. How much of the production did you sort of share? I mean, if you're playing and writing and having a sense of what the song should sound like.
So Mantronic was the producer. So, but the keyboards, yeah, he produced the track, but the basic song is what I gave him, and he produced the track. The piano stayed the same, the bass, all the basic of the song, the lyrics, the arrangements, all that stayed the same, but the drums and the overall production
Oh,
was Mantronic and the engineer.
wow. And then even your high pitched voice in that, whose idea was it to hit those high notes in the middle of the track?
Well, it was my idea that was from the demo. I don't remember now. I wrote it so long ago. I don't remember. It was just I just like to experiment. It was I was just experimenting, so it may have been something I heard and I
Yeah.
wanted to try it and it just worked. I don't remember.
So when that becomes, as I said, so I'm talking for international. When in Nigeria, I'm sure most of Africa was big here in the UK.
Mhm.
Did that surprise you more than All in All and everything? How that song just even Billboard's top one, top top Billboard charts as well.
You know, That's really funny. Like in America, All in All, You Are My All in All is my biggest hit. But in the
Wow.
UK and international, Come Into My Life is my biggest song. So I don't get it.
Yeah. But I think for us it was because at that same time we were getting Stevie and Part-Time Lover. We were getting those types of songs, but
Mm,
and especially in the UK and in Nigeria, a lot of our music was coming from the UK and Europe, and it was it was a time where the line between R&B and say pop and dance were very, very thin. So we were listening to everything. It was upbeat. It was positive. And so you didn't get say in the UK a black station. You had the
mm.
BBC and they play
Oh,
everything that sounds
right,
good. And then
right,
in
right.
Nigeria, it's pretty much uplifting music. It didn't care
Okay.
what it was. So I think that's probably why around the world there wasn't segregated music at the time. It was just music.
Mm.
Um, so did you know it was big internationally apart from the UK, or did you just?
I didn't. I didn't because well, like Africa, I didn't know how big it was in Africa. I think some people were coming back and telling me like, "Oh, your song is really big in Africa." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to go to Africa." But but I knew it was big in the UK and like Europe, certain parts because I played these places, so I knew
Okay.
I was there to see. But I have never been to Africa, and I'm still waiting for my invitation to Africa.
Oh.
But I mean, no, I shouldn't say that because I've been invited. But yeah, I didn't know how big it was in Africa. And I still hear that, it is really big in Africa.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I would love it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully, I mean, it becomes a thing for you to come either Nigeria, or South Africa, or places like that. When the album then does well, how's your family looking at it? You know, because does mom remember? Oh yeah, I'm glad I bought you that piano and studio time. I mean,
Yeah, they were so proud. Yeah, they were very proud of me. And but thank God I had such grounded parents and but my mom would always tell me because at times I got frustrated and yeah, might have retired before I even started
wow,
because it was taking so long. In the beginning, it was taking so long for Sleeping Bag to release. I mean, no, All in All. That was the first release. It was taking them so long to release the song. And my mom would say, okay, baby, you can always come back home because I was living in New York City at the time. I was like, no, mom, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back until I get ahead.
Oh goodness.
So, yeah, yeah, but I had a lot of support. My family, oh, they're the best. They supported me. They support me in everything I do. When I'm discouraged, they're like, "Oh, that's okay. That wasn't for you. You'll get the next time, the next one, whatever." They kept, encouraging me when I needed encouragement. But yeah, my family is the best.
Wow. What was their proudest moment when on TV or anything? What?
When they heard it on local radio in the hometown oh my goodness, they were telling me about how the phones just lit up. The phone just didn't stop ringing. Oh my, I hear your sister. That's what they said. Your sister's on the radio. Your sister.
Oh goodness. Did you do Soul Train? What did they think of being on Soul Train?
Oh yeah, well, by Soul Train, I think they were okay.
Uh,
But yeah, now that was a big one for me. Meeting Don Cornelius, I choked up. I choked up. You know how once you do your once you sing your song, he comes over. Hey, how are you doing?
yeah,
His voice is so deep, right? I choked all the way up. Seriously,
you
I was like,
serious?
hello. So, and he tried to do an interview. I think he kind of laughed under his breath. He was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this again." So,
Oh, good. Were you nervous or how was
oh yeah, I was nervous. I was very nervous. I was meeting Don Cornelius.
it?
I was nervous. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, he does sound like the coolest man on earth with his deep voice, and he
Yeah.
looks at you very intent.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was great. I'll never forget that. That was
Oh,
great.
goodness. Was there did you get to see the Jacksons or Michael?
No, I did it. Smokey Robinson was there, and the Whispers, I think, were
Wow.
there. Yeah, when I take, yeah, and so I
Wow.
met Smokey Robinson, and I didn't meet the Whispers. Yeah,
I mean,
but that,
yes,
yeah, I'll never forget that. Yeah, that was
did,
amazing.
as a songwriter, was he aware that you're a songwriter, not just a performer?
Was he aware?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yes, they were aware. Because he had all my information, So oh yeah, they
Wow.
were aware.
I
Yeah.
mean, I know the album did well. I mean, but after recording it, I mean, what is it like then for somebody who did you then still think about writing for others in the midst of that, or were you just so much consumed in getting ready for your next album?
Well, yeah, I had to get the next album ready. Definitely had to get the next album ready. Yeah. So that was like straight away, like we need that next single. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How did you think the second album did compared to your first?
Oh no, it didn't. Oh, so much had started changing by the time the second album came around, and it didn't do as well as Come Into My Life. You know, the label had started changing, the industry had started changing, and so that was a totally different experience, I would say. Yeah, that was totally different. I think Mantronic may have left the label at that time, but the industry was changing. like all the record stores were closing down. It was a weird time. Yeah, Sleeping Bag was going through their thing. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a lot going on.
In hindsight, what would you have done differently for your second album in order to still be able to
I would have, had I known, I would have, you know, possibly reached out to another label or another production company or something like that to continue, you know, with my music, with my songwriting and everything. It's like, yeah, I would have done that. You
do you
know, but
think
not, but
uh,
then, you know, like not knowing, you know, because I'm signed to this label, not
yeah,
knowing how to maneuver and say, okay, well, you know, another label could come in and buy out my contract from Sleeping Bag,
yeah,
different things like that, options that I didn't know about at that. I didn't know about, or and even so, because I think there was some offers, but it was just Sleeping Bag was going through some really rough business structuring and different things like that at that time, to put it nicely. So
yeah, and it made it hard for them to actually push the album and promote it like they did the first one.
yeah, most, yes, definitely, definitely.
Was the industry 'cause was that more around the time when we had a lot of New Jack Swing? Was that dominating the airwaves or?
It had just started coming in, the New Jack's Swing. And I don't even think it did yet, but I think slowly it had started. It had just started coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you think about when it comes to producers and stuff? Did you think maybe that I need to get him? I think Teddy Riley, Babyface, and LA Babyface, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
Mhm.
They were the
Mhm.
sort of the hot Mutu as well, but they were the sort of
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah, but you know, it was some things that uh, you know, Sleeping Bag was going through that. You know, I didn't think a lot of people wanted to get involved with the contracts and different things like that at that time. I didn't have all the information, but you know, it was a lot of stuff going on back
So,
then.
so
Yeah.
then what happens after the second album doesn't do well? What do you then think about? Okay, what do I do next?
You know, I think I just took a break after the second album, and in my life started changing. You know, I had my daughter, and I just wanted to get away from the industry for a while,
Mm,
and I did, and I really needed to, and just concentrating on myself, and still writing, you
okay.
know. But yeah, I just took a break for a minute, and you know, and I thought I was gonna walk away. I tried to anyway, but I couldn't. So yeah, I
Yeah,
just took
because
a break for a while.
you remember I asked you, did you think about because you wanted to go and write and be in this spend time in the studio and not think of and the thought about being a recording artist wasn't there, and all of a sudden you get the opportunity, and I was
Hmm.
wondering, did you consider what it means to be a recording artist? So I think because after the first album, then you have to the disappointment of the second. Did you just feel as if okay, this happened so quickly, let
Yeah.
me just have a reflection and stuff?
Well, it wasn't even so much as a reflection, but it was just like I really felt like I was burnt out,
Mm,
and I just needed. Well, okay, it is a reflection. You know, I just had to step back and take care of me. You
yeah.
know? So, and that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah, you know, and I, you know, took care of my family. You know, because I had a son, I had a daughter, and I wasn't spending as much time with them, and they were growing up. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? So, you know, I just took time for me. And I did. I thought about leaving the industry, but I couldn't do it. I was still still writing songs and, you know, playing my piano, and uh and so then the calls started coming again. Joyce, we got this gig for you. We wanted, and I was like, no, I don't think so. Well, we'll give you X amount of dollars. I'm like, nah. Well, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? I was like, oh, I can't do it right now. okay, well, I'm gonna call you again. And that went on for a while. But it took a while for me to get myself together and want to make music again and to travel and just do the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, yeah,
It took a while.
yeah, because it's not I think I remember hearing about I heard Barry White saying he hated promoting albums. He didn't mind making them, but the whole promotion and stuff he was something he hated. So did
That's a
you
lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I'm an independent artist now. I have my own label, August Rose Records. And it's a lot of work. And I have a team that's helping me, but it's a lot of work. You're the label. So I can hear my attorney. You're the label. You're the label. So and so it's a lot of work, and it's so many different organizations that you have to be a part of. The song has to be registered, and you have to everything is on you. So it's a lot of work. And so you're the artist, you're the CEO of the label, so you're getting interviews. You got to make sure the DJs are getting the song, the interviews are being organized right, and everything. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And
yeah,
so it takes you away from, that's what I'm complaining about now. It's taking me away from my music. I can't do my music anymore. I need more help. So, but it's a lot.
yeah. I mean, I did notice that you did form August Rose Records, and
Mhm.
what was the inspiration behind doing that instead of maybe going with another small label or others?
I was writing. I'll never forget this. I wrote this song, and I forget the name of it right now. And so the label was a label, and they were ready to take the song. And so my manager at that time took it in, and he says, "Well, who's the artist?" He says, "Joyce Simms." Oh, it was a pop song. He said, "Oh no, we could never work her into pop radio, or it would cost too much money to work her into pop radio." So it was just all this political stuff and all this, I don't want to say that was going on behind the scenes. So I just got tired of it. And then another thing was, well, we need another all in all. We need another come into my life. Okay, but I have this song right now. I'm not, I'm a songwriter. I have a lot of songs. If another all in all or come into my life comes up, I'll give it to you. But right now, this is what I'm giving you. So it was just, I got tired of it. And I said, I can I could do my own label. And I started researching again.
Oh,
Books.
goodness.
And so I started my own label.
Wow. A-
Yeah.
and the timing was so perfect around 2009 or so when we had
Mhm.
iTunes and everything was
You're
becoming
right. Yeah.
digital and everything like that.
Mhm. And it made it so accessible for you to independent artists to have their own label. But still, you had to have the knowledge of what's happening, because a lot of these companies, they offer you everything. Oh, we can do this for you, you can do that. And but it's not true. You have to really know what you're doing, and you have to work it just like a label. If
Yeah.
you don't know, then you're gonna get burnt. It's not gonna happen for you. But
Yeah.
um, the digital, when the internet, I mean, anybody that wants to, and they're doing it. Anybody and everybody has a label now.
Yeah.
Everybody can make music now. It wasn't like that when I first came out.
Yeah, and I think the recording studio is now on your laptop, and so you can then create
Yeah.
everything from there.
Hmm.
I mean, so I mean, since you started to form your label, was it solely to promote the music that you're creating, or did you then think, oh, I'll get signed new talent as well, or did you just it solely to focus on yourself?
Well, at first it was this focus on getting my music out as a way for me to distribute my music.
Yeah,
But I do want to, and I want to, record other artists. But my thing is, if I don't have the resources and everything, the funding and everything to promote and market a new artist, especially a new artist, needs a lot of attention, a lot of money, a lot of promotion, a lot of marketing. that I wouldn't sign anyone until I was, you know, in the position to do so, because I know what it feels like to be signed to a label and they, you know, telling you, oh, wait a minute, we're going to push you back for another month. We're pushing you
Right.
back for, you know, until it's ready. And I wouldn't want to do that to another artist.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I think the question that we do have is because most of the sort of 90s R&B acts who are releasing music now, if they're not hip hop, they are almost using it as a way of getting promoters to know that they're still around and using it as a marketing tool to get
Yeah.
shows and still be in the headline. Because
Mhm.
for consumers like us, we used to love having to go to a record store, buying a vinyl or a CD, you know, reading all the liner notes and all the
Yeah.
credits and stuff like that. And we
I
felt like, yes,
know.
this is great, playing it in our car. Now, you know, we probably listen to it on you know on YouTube or
Yeah.
luckily on Spotify, but there isn't any, you know, my car doesn't have a CD player. I don't even know how to play a CD anymore. So
I know.
it just doesn't feel tangible and stuff. So how does it, as a record owner, the record label owner, how do you then see how to profit from being an independent artist if you're not relying on, you don't have a big Sony or Universal pumping it out in all these big conglomerate radio stations around the world?
So now you have to have more than one income stream, you know, being an artist, you know, I tell a lot of young people, if you don't know how to write, learn how to write, because that's where your money is in your publishing, you know. That's another stream of income. You can go out and perform. That's a stream of income. You sell your merchandise, but your publishing, I mean, you sleeping at night and your song playing on the radio, you're making money.
Yeah.
So you gotta have more. You gotta have more than one stream of income coming in order to make it now as an independent artist. You know, so you know that's the thing about it. You know, and it's uh I'm not, you know, of course I want to make money, and but I also understand that, just like I said, there's so many opportunities available now, like streaming, licensing for TV and you know movies. There's so many different areas where you can, you know, get additional income now. So it, you know, it can happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
N- Now, I mean, one of the things that you did is you made a remake of a very classic Bobby Caldwell song,
Yeah.
"Do for Love," and most of us will still remember. Well, I can't, I didn't remember the original, but I remember when Tupac did the
Oh
had it in
wow.
'96. Yes, so that's so most of us heard, first time I heard it was when Tupac had a song "Do for Love" after that it came out with Eric Williams from Blackstreet. Um, and then most of us then discovered the original, and we were surprised it was a white man singing this, sort of an
Okay.
R&B kind of inspired song.
Right, right.
What made you decide that I want to record this, especially as you are an amazing songwriter yourself? Decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to redo and cover this classic song.
Well, I love doing covers. I always, you know, put a cover. I have in the past a cover on my album. So I'm going through songs. We were going through songs, and I came across Bobby Caldwell, "What You Won't Do for Love." And it was the lyrics. It was the
Mm,
lyrics that pulled me into that song, and I love the lyrics. And you know, they're so simple, but yet so strong, so powerful. And I
mm.
just love a love song. And
Yeah.
so that's really what pulled me into that song, the lyrics.
Wow.
You know,
And,
yeah.
and then the because I know there's the production, there's a little bit of a, I won't say it's there's, you know, almost like a synthesizer, like a talk box parts in it. So how did you, you know, doing that, you know, having that sound
Okay, so that was a collaboration. I worked with this producer named Frank Bright out of the UK,
yeah.
and he did the music. And so, you know, he sent me the track over, and I did the vocal arrangements. So at first it was I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I can't do this song like Bobby Caldwell because and I was thinking double thinking myself, I'm like, maybe this is not the right song. But so I had to change the key and then, change the vocal arrangements and everything. And I'm glad I did because it came out. I was really proud, happy that it, you know, with the results. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you had the song. Did you? So you didn't just do a demo version of it to send to him to make the musical. How does it work when?
Well, so I told us, suggested the song to Frank, and he was like, "Oh, I got this great idea. Um, we do I forget what kind of beat he called it, like up tempo, but you want to keep it dance."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, well, send it to me. Let me see what it sounds like." So now we're going back and forth, through emails with he sent me the track, and yeah, I like this, I like that, but let's change this and let's change that and let's add this and let's add that. Oh, we need a breakdown right here, or we need to build it up right here. And so that's how we collaborated online.
Online. So those days of being in the studio with the engineer and in the recording booth. Oh,
Yeah,
Joyce, one more time. That
yeah,
disappears now.
yeah. So I cut my vocals in my studio, and so I send him my vocals, and we go back and forth, and I'm telling him, no, I need a little bit more. I need some more presence on this part right here. And so we go back and forth. He's a
Wow.
great guy. I enjoyed working with him. But yeah, that
Wow.
was a collaboration.
What is the? I mean, it's a beautiful song, as I said, and a beautiful edition, updated version of it.
Mhm.
What is the sort of how do you plan to push it further? I mean, is there a video in the works, or how does it work?
We're looking at a video. We're looking at a video. It really depends on. I was really dependent on the response I was getting, which is really good. So that's a blessing. That's a great thing. So, but I'm really waiting and working on my album that's coming out
Okay.
this well, okay, next month now. But
Oh,
yeah, so yeah, my album is called Change. So that's a part of the album.
okay.
Yeah, so that's giving me a little more time to finish the album.
Oh, you said,
In
are
the
you talking about
meantime,
September next month, or is it
no, I'm talking about this year. I can't push it back any longer.
Oh, so you
Yeah, it's
expect?
almost complete. It's almost complete. I've been working on it for a while now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And will we get majority of that stuff that you've written?
Oh yes. Yeah, everything. I wrote everything on it. So I did
Wow,
collaborations, worked with some great guitarists and bass players. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
wow.
Yeah.
Now, how now is the marketing going to be for an album, especially as an independent artist? How?
Well, it's the same. You just have to find the right company now. So I have to hire out for promotion company, the marketing company.
Okay,
I have people doing social media for me. Yeah, so I just hire out and until I'm big enough to like hire for staff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So and as I mentioned, as you did mention, it does take away from the creative side, but
Yes.
then there's a sense of this is a cheap fulfillment, and that it's actually yours, and it's on your time and deadline and everything.
Well, okay, no, it used to be, but so after it is a business, so you got to keep that mind of thought. It is a business,
Wow.
so I make schedules. I have to keep the schedule, and if I change it, you got to give me a valid reason why, because it's not just me. I have a team of people working with me, and now I'm hiring outside people. So now if I schedule I need a mastering date with you at a certain day. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh, I'm not ready. Like, what do you mean? That cost me X amount of dollars to hold that date for you. So it is a business. So I have to, work accordingly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's no, that's an amazing feat. And with that, you're still planning some tours. here in the UK towards the end of the month. How are you going to fit all that in?
I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. Well, like I said, I have a lot of help. So, and thank goodness, the booking agent, the promoters, everyone does their part, and we just another collaboration. Everybody comes together. The itinerary and everything is done in advance, so everything should run smoothly. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How did you manage during during the whole lockdown and stuff? What as a creative person, what was it like for you?
It was well, the lockdown was bad. I mean, that was a crazy time. But
Mm,
I have my studio. I have my studio in my home, so I was able to continue recording, and that was a godsend, a blessing. But yeah, that was a rough time. Because I'm so excited now going back on the road. I'll be back in the UK the 27th, and I haven't I haven't traveled overseas in 2 years. I've done dates. I'm doing dates now in the States, but it has been still 2 years, I think. Yeah, this year I started beginning of the year, going back on the road here in the US. But you learn to appreciate it. I did anyway. The little things that you would take for granted with the
yeah.
traveling and meeting people and the different things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you come with a band, or do you normally you rely on a house band, or what?
So this time I'm doing the in Manchester on the 28th and Jazz Cafe on the 29th, and I'll have a band. The promoter gets a band
Okay.
for me. Well, they're a band. It's the UK band. I've worked with them before. Most of the guys, I send them my music and they learn the music. We get together a couple days before the show and put the whole show together.
Yeah.
Then we, hit the stage.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever get to behind the piano and sing, or is it just
It's no, because and that's something I really want to do, but I haven't had like a setup yet where I could sit behind the piano and play and go back out because uh I guess the vocal point and so I'm not comfortable, I think, yet enough to go from the piano, then get back out on the mic and working the crowd up again. And, you know, but that is something that I would want to do, like a really just a nice set, just sitting at the piano, maybe piano and drums and guitar, maybe, but, a stripped down set.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
something I would really like to do.
Yeah, I mean, because we, as I said, when we started, as I said, the vision of you playing piano in your and that and coming to my life, and subsequently we've got Alicia Keys that does a lot of that, and
Right. Yes.
and I guess we start to appreciate the artistry here we've got Ed Sheeran, who gets sometimes strips everything down with his guitar and performs,
Yeah.
or Adele will sometimes do a couple of
Mhm.
songs with just somebody playing the piano, and
Mhm.
so you can see how that intimate vibe just really draws us in.
Yeah. Yeah.
In so, but as you said, it takes being not, I don't want to say practice, but it takes just getting back into the vibe of performing like that.
Yeah, to me, it's like a different mindset. That's why I said if I did something like, or when I do something like that, it would be a set, like maybe 4 or 5 songs or 3 or 4 songs, and not just one song. And now you're back, and the tempo is back up at 120, and your mind is in another place
Okay,
because
okay.
you got, the tempo's changed, the vibe in the room has changed, and
Yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's as I said, it's something that's hopefully I can get to see you when you do come. Even though I'm about an hour away from London, but it'd be really fascinating to be able to get to see you perform. I mean, especially after all this time and stuff.
Wow, yes, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always end my interviews by asking my guests that if you were stuck in an elevator and you had to watch a movie before they get you out, what would be your movie of choice that you'd want to watch while you're just killing time kind of thing?
Oh my goodness, my daughter would laugh. Black Panther. She says, she's like, Mom, how many times are you gonna watch that movie?
Okay.
I love that movie. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yes.
really
I mean, it was yeah, I mean, goodness, it was an amazing film, and it's, I mean,
hmm
especially when we look at what happened to Chad afterwards and
Yeah,
stuff.
yes,
Um
yeah.
and I think we're kind of forever coming out in November. We'll sort of, you know, then decided not to replace him, so it would be that they would say that he has passed on in the film. So, but it was
Mhm.
really powerful film.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I love those kind of films.
yeah. Then what's your all-time sort of favorite song from any other,
Oh,
artist, a song? If you had that one song that you're of all the songs, you would say, okay, yeah, this, I really.
Stevie Wonder, as around the sun, the earth knows she's revolving.
Wow, I don't think I've heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, you had to have it. As around the sun, the earth knows
Oh
she's
yeah,
revolving. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I love that song.
Actually,
Yeah.
sounds similar to Bobby Caldwell's song in some ways.
Same laid back melody, the warmth of it and everything.
Yeah.
hmm
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because he was around that time when you were when your song was out. He was also big in Nigeria but it was a very similar type of, just as I said, the lines between what is R&B and pop. So with George
hmm
Michael, we were just consuming all at the same time. So that's why, as
Right.
I said, internationally, it would have been like just another big song. We didn't. The lines were very blurred at the time, unlike now, where it was pretty much his hip hop, his R&B,
Right.
his gospel. It's all in little pockets and stuff.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I guess finally, what do you think about the sort of the music scene now, especially R&B, being sort of gobbled up by hip hop and almost very little small outlets and stuff.
You know, it's a good thing with the internet and the different outlets for independent artists, for artists in general. I think that's a good thing. I think that with the technology and with the people being artists being able to make their own music and distribute their own music, I think that's a good thing. But it also opens up the door for anybody and everybody to make music or say it's music and put it out there. And so now we're just consumed with music. It's just an abundance of music. But there's a lot of very, very good artists that's out here and trying to break through all the noise and the clutter. So I think it's a good thing. It's just you have to just find the right people or the right thing for you to really break through the noise, is what I really think.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, Joyce, I mean, it's definitely been a privilege for me to speak with you. And when should we expect your new album? Because you said September. Do you have a sort of a date in mind, or
I don't have a date. I'm just September of
September?
this year.
September.
Of
And
this year.
but Do for Love is out now, available on all streaming services. I
Yes.
guess there's a sort of is there a lot of the our viewers tend to watch music videos or listen to their songs on YouTube compared to Spotify and stuff. Do you have a
Okay.
sort of even a video of the song, even if even like a lyric video or something, out on YouTube?
The lyric video is coming for the
Okay.
song. It's not out yet, but it is coming. We're working on the lyric video.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, a lot of our viewers who are generally in the 40s tend to say, they said when we did a poll as to where do you consume music now, they said YouTube. I think it
Oh,
was over
okay.
45%. Some
Okay.
Spotify, but
Uh-huh.
mainly YouTube, because it's like they're on there, they listen to it, and so that's where they're.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's yes, because I wouldn't. I didn't. I have Spotify, but I don't play it, and so I
Oh,
mainly would listen to stuff on YouTube.
okay.
Because yeah, it's easy access, easy just to search, find it, and play, as
Right,
opposed to
right,
Spotify. If you don't have the subscription, then you can't. Yeah.
right. Absolutely. But yeah, it's coming soon, very soon. Very soon.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yes, yes.
yeah. Once it's out, I'll be sure to really as sort of time when this comes out to when that's out, and also
Okay.
also when your new album does come out. So it just really gets us all tuned in
Okay.
and to be able to support, because it's great to see that you're back, you're making music, and
Yeah.
you know, as I said, I listen to a lot of your songs about love, and you are my all in all, and then all these sort of things, and when we reflect on what we're listening to now, there are the songs that we're getting aren't as edifying, and so that's
Yeah.
why we reflect back on our on legacy songs, which
Okay.
really had a different message and really inspiring and really fulfilling. And so that's hence we're hopeful that we're getting more of that type of positive love music coming from
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, for sure. The new album is full of positive, the love songs, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited
Yeah,
about
well, I definitely am, and so with that, I definitely appreciate it. I just hopefully we didn't keep I didn't keep you all too long and stuff,
it.
but
Oh, okay. I enjoyed you. Thank you for having me.
yes, thanks, Joyce. And as I said, hopefully I get to see you in London.
Yeah.
And I will, as I said, I'll work with your management company just to make sure that we maximize this interview when the album's out, so that it just does generate the attention and the buzz that it deserves.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks
I
very much.
enjoyed you.
Thanks
Okay.
very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I begin to